Well, hi, everyone, and welcome back to another podcast from The Real CD Show. My name is Chamberlain Burke.
And I'm Devlin Burke.
And we want to interrupt our exploration of women of hard rock and heavy metal. We are going to continue that. We're gathering our research and materials to continue that, and we want to do that shortly. But right now, we want to address an issue that's more of a current event. And it's something that is not really a new subject, but it's been in the news. And it's something that Devlin and I have spoken about quite a bit in the course of planning our business and doing our strategic planning. And also other people have brought this to our attention and expressed concern, if you will. So late last month, come on, there we go. Peter Criss in Hi-Fi Way, the Pop Chronicles, was interviewed. Nice picture. So this is April 27th of this year. So just not maybe 3 weeks ago. He was going to Australia to play an exclusive farewell show in Melbourne, and he's making an appearance at the KISS convention in May. So they had a chance to interview him, and so the interview is really interesting. And there's one point, and I don't mean to make you seasick from scrolling down here. It's down a little bit more. Okay. Do you get worried about the future of rock and roll and where it is going? And he said, I think rock and roll is over personally. I'm a 21st century guy, and I've been around since the day that the Beatles were on stage. I've been around when music was Motown. What's going on today ain't my cup of tea, and that's another reason I just want to do my shows and call it a day. So he says the 60s and 70s were the times to be around. I saw Jimi Hendrix, the Real Who, the Real Zeppelin, the Beatles, and the Stones. He's friends with all these people. All right, so he's saying that rock and roll is over, okay? So other people, this is the point. When Devlin and I have spoken to people and when we've talked amongst ourselves about where we're going to go and what we're going to do and how we're going to focus on things, we really do look at where rock music is. And other people have expressed concern that it's over. And we're not so sure. Devlin, why don't you talk for a few minutes first?
Okay. I have to disagree. And Gene Simmons has also mentioned that rock and roll is over in several interviews. I think in the mainstream media, they won't cover it. For example, award shows don't really have rock bands on anymore. They'll have a pop star, or they'll have a bunch of pop stars. Even late night shows, they'll have a band on, and they'll just play a song and be over. They won't sit down and talk to them and engage with them. Now, Jimmy Kimmel will do it. He's done it with Metallica and a few bands here and there, but recently he did it with Metallica, I think in December or November of last year. He sat down with them and asked them, why did it take so long? And that's like one shining moment. A lot of mainstream media will talk to pop stars or R&B stars or hip hop stars, but when it comes to rock stars, they're just come on, play, and go. And if you're someone like me who loves rock music, I always get so frustrated because I want to hear. Last week, Green Day was on the Late Show with James Corden, and for someone who loves music, he didn't talk to Green Day. He just had them come on. They performed their latest single, Still Breathing, and that was it. And I'm like, no, engage, talk. I want to hear from them. I'm purposely tuning into your show to see Green Day. I really don't care about everybody else on your show. So I think in the mainstream media, it is over. But touring-wise, the tours are a huge success. Scorpions just announced a major tour with Megadeth. Judas Priest are currently working on an album. Metallica is currently touring. Iron Maiden is touring, and the CD show, we're going to go see them, and we're going to give you our idea of the show. Aerosmith is touring. Granted, it is a farewell tour, the Aero Verderci tour.
Aero Verderci.
Yes. Alice Cooper just announced a co-headlining tour with Deep Purple.
Aren't we seeing that too?
Yeah, we're seeing that too in August. Kiss is still currently touring. They're in, I think, Finland at the moment. Def Leppard is touring with Tesla and Poison. Touring wise, it's still lucrative.
Okay, good point. Good point. Now, I fully understand, and I am not trying to say that Peter Criss is wrong. Okay, that's his opinion. He's certainly entitled to it. And I understand what he's saying. The heyday of these bands is over. And back then, there weren't the late night shows the way there are now. It was the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, but they've never ever done what we want them to do, which is give the musical act, the band, the performers, that musical guest, the same consideration that they give every stand-up comic and actor, actress, author, somebody pushing their thing. And you're absolutely correct. We have seen them talk to Barbra Streisand, Beyonce, all these people, these hip-hop, R&B, I can't even remember them because I don't know who they are. They sit them down and talk to them, and then they go perform. But the country bands they will do too. But the rock bands, even the ones who are on their final tour, they just say, and they'll hold up the album and give them a thing and say, okay, thank you very much. And they don't give them the consideration. Daytime TV shows do exactly the same thing, and I won't mention her by name. But the thing is, if you look back at the history of the music, you're never going to see a Twisted Sister, an Exodus, Motley Crue, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, The Who, Hendrix, Rolling Stones. Kiss is still going. Rolling Stones, yes, they're still going. In fact, they went to Cuba. They were a headlining, like breaking news that the Rolling Stones went to Cuba, because nobody went to Cuba until we just opened up those borders again. What I think he was talking about, and I'm not trying to interpret him, is that heyday is gone. However, that music is still here. Okay? Buddy Holly has been gone, but his music is still here. So you know what? He's still here. The music will always be here. The music, even when they, so help me, put it on commercials, the music is still here. And people go, hey, what's that song? I, as you know, and I've made it very clear, I listen more to doo-wop and early rock pop music, British Invasion, those kind of things. That music is still here. More and more of those people. Everything with the and a noun, the Diamonds, the Crests, the Temptations, the Delphonics, anything like that. I listen to those, the Commodores. I listen to them. Their music is still here, and most of them, unfortunately, are not. So the music will still be here, and that is our goal, is to celebrate that. And I'm going to take it back to my main man, Sam Dunn, who did Metal Evolution, and he did a kind of genealogical tree all the way back to Paganini. Now, we know Paganini's been dead for quite a while. His music is still here. And Elvis Presley's music is still here, and Jerry Lee Lewis's music is still here, and the Big Bopper's music is still here. All these people who influenced the people of hard rock and heavy metal, their music is still here. They influenced the hard rock and heavy metal bands who influenced the people who are around now. Times change, musical tastes change, and I understand what Mr. Criss is saying. But for us, that music will always be here. Unfortunately, we won't be able to enjoy it the way he did. With the bands. I mean, you can imagine he probably paid a couple of bucks to go see these bands. Now it's a little bit different, but they're still touring. They're still selling out. So tell me what research you found out about the touring of some other bands.
Yeah. Well, getting back to the thing, is it dead? The previous AC/DC tours, Black Ice and the Rocker Bus tour, the Black Ice tour was the fourth highest grossing tour according to Forbes. There's a company called Polster, and they called the Because We Can Bon Jovi tour one of the top 100 mid-year worldwide tours. So touring wise, they're still selling. We saw the Scorpions last year. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary event
with Queensryche.
Yeah, and and that place was packed. You and I will both testify that that place was packed, and everybody was enjoying it, and it was, and you know, the music is still alive. We still have the albums. We love it. Chamberlain knows when any of these bands that I love are on TV, it's a daily event at my house. When Green Day was on, I had a Green Day party at my house because that was important to me.
Very cool. Let's go back to the Scorpions Queensryche tour. If you remember when we were sitting there and it was getting close to showtime, and I went, why are there so many empty seats? I was really worried that people weren't going to show up. And then I turned around and blinked, and the place was packed. It was packed with people who were had been fans since the beginning. I don't like talking about age, but they were fans from the beginning, and you figure out how long these bands have been around. They knew the lyrics. They brought their children.
Yes.
They brought their grandchildren. They brought their nieces and nephews. They are passing on. How many times have we seen something on television where little kids, and I don't mean little kids where my mommy got me a size 2T toddler t-shirt and I had no choice, but kids who are like adolescents and teenagers, and they're listening to the music and they're going, hey, I like this. And what was the thing we just saw?
Yeah. There was I don't remember the name of this company, but there's a group of people and they do videos where they show people all these different things, and they showed like 9, 10, and 12-year-olds. They had 9, 10, and 12-year-olds listen to AC/DC and respond to it. And sure enough, a lot of there were like 2 that didn't like it, but there were a couple that were like, okay, this song's really interesting. This song's really interesting. And then they finally said, this is a band that was formed in the 70s, and they recently wrapped up a tour, and they went, they're still touring? They must be in there. And of course, these are little children, so they're like, they must be 80. Can you imagine? And they showed him a picture of Angus Young, and they were like, why is he wearing his school uniform? But they were very happy, but they really liked the music, and they were saying, I gotta steal this record from my dad. And
so that's why the music will never die. It will never stop.
One of the things that I thought was interesting, and I kind of want to bounce this off of you and share this with our listeners. Maybe you guys can comment your thoughts on this. I was reading this Peter Criss article in a different area, and someone made the statement that rock and roll shouldn't be mainstream. It's a counterculture, and that it's kind of underground. And I have always said rock and roll is not dead. I feel like it's on life support. But now I feel it's kind of gone a little more underground. So I wanted to know, what do you think of this?
I can speak to that because when I became aware of this music, when you showed me Metal Evolution, you know, and I admit that I didn't understand it, and I thought it was. That's the way it was to me. Rock music was an underground counterculture. It wasn't the Temptations and the Four Tops and everything with who appeared on Ed Sullivan wearing suits and were very respectful. It was guys with long hair and jeans and t-shirts, and they played loud music. And the older generations called it noise, and it was so hard to understand. I couldn't understand any of the lyrics. Now it makes more sense because I've listened to it and I've researched it, and thanks to you exposing me to different things. But yes, I agree. It's never been mainstream. In retrospect, I really don't feel it's ever been mainstream. I feel it's always been the antithesis. It's been the music your parents didn't want you to listen to.
Well, then again, let's go back, because in the 80s, when MTV was very popular, you saw a lot of Scorpions and Kiss and Motley Crue videos, and sure enough, it helped their record sales, it helped their tour sales. So I don't think we're going to go back to the 80s. And on the one hand, I do kind of like that I'm kind of like a part of a secret club, because I love this music and I wear the t-shirts, and sometimes people don't understand what t-shirt I'm wearing, but sure enough, every once in a while I'll see one and they'll go, oh, I love your shirt. So I do love that. But I think what rock fans want is, we just want our own little place. You know, you turn on TV and you can still see Beyonce videos, like you mentioned, and Rihanna and Ariana Grande. But with rock and roll, we have to wait for like a section of time
The other day you told me MTV was running music videos. Is that still the case? Are they running blocks of them?
MTV Classic is running
Okay.
a lot of music videos, and they do have little blocks for rock and heavy metal, but it's kind of scattered throughout the day. I don't think they have a regular scheduling for it.
Now we went to Rock and Brews yesterday or the day before, a couple of days ago, and we sat there and thoroughly enjoyed the music videos that they played. And we could sing along with them. We could tap our toes. There were countless people there who were doing the same thing. They were bopping along. They were mouthing the words. The wait staff were singing along as they cleared tables. It's really nice. I don't think this music is dead.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think it's dead, but I feel like I'm going to visit it. I feel like it's in the hospital, and every time I go visit, another plug has been pulled.
No, I can see why you would say that, but I disagree. I think there are enough people, because here's the thing. That group of people from, okay, let's say it 40 and 50 years ago are still around. A lot of them are still around. A lot of the bands aren't, and a lot of them have retired and whatever. That music is still here, and those people and the wait staff and the people that we saw at Rock and Brews were not that old. And they were singing along with that music and dancing to it and bopping their heads and things like that. So the music is not going to die. I can see that the heyday of the bands and that whole thing from the 70s and 80s, I can see what he means by that. As far as I'm concerned, the music is always going to be here the same way we have all the music all the way back. And now with the digital age and all the new technology, I don't see that we're going to lose it. I mean, I still go online to eBay to buy sheet music from popular songs and classic songs just because I like to have that in my hand. But the sheet music is still out there from some of the songs that I like. And the music is always going to be with us. It will be different. The more we can archive the tours, I mean, even things like different tours and different concerts and, where future generations can see what that was like as part of our culture. But to me, that music is always going to be here.
I think so too. As long as we have albums and CDs, and like you said, with the digital age, although I'm an album and vinyl girl myself, I don't think it's going to die, especially if you share it with your kids and tell your kids why this music was important to mommy or daddy.
Exactly.
Why these songs were important. I fell in love to this Scorpion song. I went through a breakup, and this Kiss song got me through it. I think as long as we have those feelings and those emotions and those connections, I don't think it's going to go anywhere.
I agree. And I think, too, the more people, like you just mentioned people passing it on to their kids. I know when you give out Halloween candy, you have your boombox outside and you're blasting it, and the parents come up and go, hey, I love that Kiss album. I love that album. I love that great song to play. But the more we pass that off, and the other thing is, too, the more this younger generation and the people who use the technology, they have great creativity and they have great vision. That the way people use songs, even to do the Halloween light shows and things like that, they're passing that music on. So hang in there, ladies and gentlemen. The music is not going away. I think an era is quickly passing, but hey, so does everything else. We don't wear poodle skirts and Oxford shoes anymore either, but we can still enjoy the music. So, on behalf of the Real CD Show, I'm Chamberlain Burke.
I'm Devlin Burke.
And we want to thank you for listening and give us your perspective. Thank you very much, and have a great one.